to call this hearing to order and welcome to our witnesses, Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, CIA Director Bill Burns, FBI Director Chris Wray, Director of National Security Agency and Commander of U.S. Cybercom, General Paul Nakasone, and DIA Director Lieutenant General Scott Berrier. Thank you all for coming before the committee today to discuss the intelligence community's annual worldwide threat assessment. This is an opportunity for agencies to brief this oversight committee and, most importantly, the American public about the numerous threats and challenges facing our country. Our nation's intelligence professionals are America's eyes and ears. They provide crucial intelligence assessments and warnings to policymakers so that we might address not just immediate threats, but dangers on the horizon. I'd like to thank you and, importantly, the thousands of men and women of America's intelligence community whom you represent for their quiet, unsung, and often unacknowledged service. I think we all know, and we see this on a daily basis, we live in an increasingly challenging and complex world. While the ongoing war in Ukraine has shown that conventional military capabilities are still important, I think the very nature of national security is undergoing a profound transformation. National security in 2023 is not the same as it was in 1993, for that matter, in 2003. We can no longer just pay attention to who has the most tanks, airplanes, or missiles. We also need to focus on technology, R&D dollars, strategic investment flows, and supply chains, because whoever leads and wins the challenges in technology domains will have an edge in national security competition in the future. We've already seen this with the outsized impact of cyber tools, which now give both state and non-state actors alike the power to cripple countries' critical infrastructure and entire economies from behind a keyboard without firing a single shot. And we're increasingly seeing rising competition in the technology space with authoritarian regimes that are challenging democratic norms at home and around the world. The People's Republic of China under President Xi and the Chinese Communist Party is now, unfortunately, a near-peer competitor with our country in its economy, technology, and military capabilities. And I think it is more important than just political correctness to emphasize, at least in my mind, our beef is with Xi Jinping, the Communist Party, and their authoritarian tendencies. It is not with the Chinese people, it is not with the Chinese diaspora, it is not with Chinese Americans or Asian Americans, who oftentimes have been the strongest critics of the increasingly authoritarian regime of the Xi government and are often victims themselves of CCP's repression. While America was focused for 2 decades on counterterrorism, China was racing to overtake the United States in a range of emerging and foundational technologies, such as advanced wireless communications, semiconductors, quantum, synthetic biology, and next-generation energy, as well as taking not only the extraction, but the processing of rare earth minerals that are so critical in so many of those technologies. The PRC has also become an active player in the international technology standard-setting bodies and is embedding itself in global supply chains. All of this is why the United States must aggressively invest in talents, tools, and research to lead in tomorrow's technologies. Today, you will undoubtedly be asked about the IC's assessment on the origins of COVID-19. Let's be clear. Despite China's denials, it is entirely fair for us to ask whether the virus that has killed at least 6.8 million people so far might have been accidentally released from a lab in Wuhan. That these questions are even necessary is a testament to the failings of the Chinese system and stands in contrast to the openness of our own public health officials during the pandemic. The lack of transparency in China's authoritarian systems may mean that we will never be absolutely certain where COVID-19, or God forbid, the next pandemic, could have or will next originate. Looking towards Russia, we are now in the second of Ukraine. The IC, and I'm going to commend so many of you, did an incredible job of predicting Putin's plans and issuing warnings about the invasion, declassifying and sharing intelligence in a timely way, and I know for many of you that was totally against your grain, but making that declassification in a timely way I really think upended Russia's plans and kept Putin off his game. Over the last years, Ukrainians have displayed resolve, bravery, resourcefulness as they have defended their country against Russia's ruthless invasion. NATO is more united than ever, and democracies around the world have rallied with unprecedented assistance to Ukraine in training, intelligence sharing, humanitarian, and modern military equipment. I hope that we'll hear from the IC assessment of the trajectory of this bloody conflict and what we think the end game will be, while at the same time obviously maintaining Ukraine's right to exist as a sovereign nation. I'm sure that we will discuss the multitude of other threats, from rogue states like Iran and North Korea, to emerging global health threats, to the threat of global warming, as well as the threats presented to the IC's workforce by anomalous health incidents, or AHIs. All of your agencies rely on world-class talent of your workforce, and that's why this committee will continue our efforts to ensure on federal clearance reform, security clearance reform. Hiring and retention is so important to make sure we maintain that world-class workforce. Last thing to note, and I think I speak for everyone on both sides of the aisle on this committee. We still have unfinished business regarding the classified documents that we need to see in order for this intelligence committee to effectively oversee its job on intelligence oversights. We must resolve this issue soon. The challenges we face are more varied and dynamic than ever, and clearly you all have your hands full. But we also have, I think in this hearing, particularly for the public part, a chance to underscore conviction in our values and our efforts to reinvigorate our allies around the world, and to be clear-eyed about the threats that authoritarian regimes like China and Russia place. So I look forward to today's discussion.